YouTube knows what your audience is and knows who to go and find, then it's game over if you just keep providing value at the end of the day.
We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Welcome to Finances, your home for all things financial, investment, money and lifestyle. Hosted and curated by the very talented team of certified financial planners at Burke, Britton Financial Partners. So this is episode number 112 of the Finances Podcast, Take 2. Delta Smith joins me today. Good
Morning,
to have you back,
Jay.
Delta. And our guest today, Corey Murphy. Corey, we did a full intro and forgot to press record, so we're going to start again. Corey Murphy, Murphs, YT13. Corey, good to have you on the podcast, mate.
It's awesome to be here. I'm excited to talk YouTube with you guys and pick your brains about what your little setup is here as well. We've already been talking about it. So.
Yeah, it's funny. I always make the mistake of not hitting record pre-episode. We end up doing almost a full podcast sometimes before we hit record. I was thinking about the conversation today and thinking about I've talked to you about my son Alfie, who's got his YouTube channel, and if I'd mentioned his YouTube handle or mentioned him, he will tell me to shut up. He doesn't want anyone to know who he is. He tells me that he needs to do. He hasn't done a reveal or something like that.
Hasn't done the face reveal.
Face reveal.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah,
I didn't know what that meant, but if I mention his YouTube channel in public, he says, "Dad, shut up." Shh. I'm thinking, don't you want a bit of publicity, mate? Can't I tell people about your channel? But
I was like that for a long time. Okay. I made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to tell anybody until I made my first $1 from the channel, and I think it took me 8 months to make my first $1. I think it took me a year to gain 500 subscribers even.
So you literally didn't tell anyone about the channel?
Not even my partner knew, no.
Okay.
So yeah, I was kind of embarrassed about it a little bit, but then you're an idiot until you're successful, and then all of a sudden you're a genius.
Yes.
Isn't that funny too? And I think it's probably got something to do with it being such a non-traditional form of business or generating an income or as employment. What was it for you? Was it that? What was the level of embarrassment?
It was mainly because I was doing broadcast style commentary over FIFA videos. So I was trying to be like Jared Waitley or whatever, commentating over it, because that's what I've always wanted to do, is wanted to be a sports commentator or something in entertainment. And I just feared that if my friends found that, they would take the piss, basically. Yeah. I was embarrassed by it.
Isn't that what friends do? That's just
Well, now they go back and watch the old stuff and they laugh, and I laugh because it's horrendous. But yeah, that's all part of the journey. It's all how you start.
Absolutely.
I mentioned to you before we hit record that some of our early podcast episodes here I've never released because they are just so god-awful bad. Like the audio's bad, but just even conversation. Like we were very structured, we thought we're a financial planning podcast. We're going to talk about, financial planning topics and be very regimented. You listen back to it and go, that's just horrible. Yeah. It's just, we're much more, preference much more for conversational style interviewing, which is why it's evolved to what it is today. Mate, again, I was excited to sort of pick your brain, and feel free to pick our brain a little bit about what we're doing here. But I thought I'd like to start with just a bit of your background, right? You don't just wake up one morning and become a YouTube sensation. So let's go back to where you grew up, what life was like in your early years, and how you found your way eventually to having your own YouTube channel as a full-time gig.
So I grew up on a farm in a place called Coolanong, which is about 40 to 45 minutes out of Swan Hill. And there was just my brother, my dad and mum, and very humble beginnings, lots of space around. We'd be outside kicking the footy and all that sort of thing. And that's where I really got my love of pro wrestling, was sitting in the farm watching Foxtel or Ozstar or whatever it was back then, and just talking to my mates about wrestling at school and that sort of stuff.
How old are you, Corey?
I'm 37.
Okay.
So I found wrestling when I was about 11 or 12.
So who was dominating at that time?
Stone Cold Steve Austin was my guy, still is my guy.
Yep.
and The Rock, Undertaker, Kane, all these guys that maybe if you have a passing interest in wrestling, you would have heard of them.
Yeah.
And my brother and I were just absolutely obsessed with it. I carried it on, he hasn't, but yeah, great. I wouldn't change anything about how we grew up out on the farm. Loved helping out because to get a pay-per-view or whatever, to get WrestleMania, for example, Dad would take us out and we'd have to mark lambs and that sort of thing so he would buy it. I think
That's
he
a
got a
chores.
better end of the deal than what we did, for a $50 pay-per-view. But that sort of stuff is just so entrenched in my memory as such a good time because we just had so much space to do whatever we want. We'd build a wrestling ring out the back in the bush out of scrap metal and all that sort of thing, take one bump on it and think this is horrendous idea. But yeah, we basically we grew up small country town, eventually moved to Melbourne and lived overseas for a little bit, lived in England for 12 months, came home tail between my legs with no money and bailed out by mum and dad, as I think most people probably have in their life.
Did you finish school?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you finished year 12.
Finished year 12.
And did you go to Swan Hill High School?
Went to Swan Hill College from year 10 to 12, but went to Tullibuk Central School up until year 10.
Okay.
That's a K-12 school.
And was overseas a gap year? What did you do? Did you go to uni? What was the story?
I never had any interest in going to uni at all. I really, probably not a bad student academically, but in terms of getting distracted, horrendous. Or being the distractee was often something.
Let me guess, your report card said something like, easily mine was likes to be the centre of attention, easily distracted.
Yeah, I don't know about centre of attention, but certainly the puppeteer behind the scenes a little bit.
Frustrating.
I think the only A I ever got, which is quite fitting, was in creative writing in English.
Yeah.
Which obviously has helped me out now.
Clearly your
considering where I am,
passion.
yeah. So that was something that I always held on to, was like, well, that's something I can be creative. So and then when I left school, went straight into working in hospitality because that was just what was available in Swan Hill. It was the easiest thing to do when you got out of the job centre.
Yep.
And went to the UK to live for 12 months and worked in pubs all over the UK and just drank a heap. I was 20, 21 and just lost it over there.
Did you go with anyone or did you go just by yourself?
No, just on my own. And it was terrifying. But yeah, I went and met a couple of friends who were living there and they sort of acclimated me to what England was about, and it's very similar. It's hardly a stretch from Australia.
Walkabout pub a few nights
I
of the week and you
I
feel
actually
like you're at
watched
home?
the 2010 grand final draw in a walkabout at like 4 a.m. and I was the only Collingwood supporter in the place and everyone else barracked for everybody else, but they were all barracking for St Kilda that day. But yeah, came home and wanted to do something creative still, so I went to study at SAE sound engineering, and I thought that was what I wanted to do, music and that sort of thing. And at the very end of the SAE course, there was a video editing portion, which I thought was a complete waste of time. And I even said audibly to the teacher, I was like, why are we learning video editing for an audio course? He said, you just never know. This is also audio visual. And he sort of gave me a bit of a lesson in that. And I said, okay, let's see if I ever use that. And here we are, as a full-time YouTuber. Yeah.
Have you ever gone back to him and said, "Oh, thanks for that"?
No, I don't even know where he is, to be honest. He was great. Like, he was very real with us, with a lot of conversations he had. I remember he said, if you guys, getting out of this course doesn't guarantee you anything, and he said, I'll be honest, if I see you guys competing for the same job as me, I'm going to be going hard and I'm going to be... So it was a good lesson in the industry, and I got out of that industry pretty much straight away because it just... Starting from the bottom there, rolling cables for some bloke playing an acoustic guitar at a pub or whatever for $50 just didn't really appeal to me. So I went back into hospitality, and hospitality was always a good stopgap for me of, well, I'll do this until I find the thing that I want to do. And I did that for, I think it was 16 years or something. I think I was in hospitality, just plodding along, trying to find something. And then eventually my partner and I met and we moved to Ocean Grove, and our TV antenna was out, but our Wi-Fi was on, and so I had nothing to watch. So I tuned into YouTube. This is back in 2015. I'd never watched YouTube before in my life. I didn't know that there was creators. I thought it was cat videos and dumb stuff. And I got absolutely bitten by the bug. I watched a guy called Big Red NY, and now I'm friends with him, which is like real full circle stuff. And yeah, he inspired me to start my channel, and I don't think I've missed since 2015 uploading at least something every week, it feels like.
Were you watching it on your TV, or were you watching it on your computer?
I was watching on my laptop.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no smart TV back then pumping YouTube?
2015, was it? I don't think so.
Can't
We
remember.
definitely didn't have one, I don't think.
Yeah, I was trying to work that out the other day. When did like streaming and smart TVs have? Because now I would watch YouTube more than anything.
Yeah.
Like I don't watch mainstream TV at all. I would watch YouTube more than Netflix, because it's my choice about what I watch.
I'm the
much
same. I
selection.
barely watch free-to-air TV at all anymore. And yeah, I find YouTube more... It's more grounded in reality. There's real people. I feel like, obviously movies and TV shows are great, but YouTube it's someone sitting in their bedroom, or it's someone creating something from their house, and it's them. Like it's
authentic.
YouTube. It's not Daytube. It's it's a really great medium for that, where just the average person can do something incredible in front of millions of people.
Can you remember what your first video upload was?
Yeah, I remember it vividly. It got copyright claims all over the joint because I didn't take the music out of it from the menu of FIFA. So I started as a FIFA YouTuber, doing the broadcast commentary, as I said, and it was horrendous. And being an audio student, you would think the audio would be primo. It was terrible. It was all on the right side, like it was in stereo, but it was all to the right.
Nice.
It was horrific. And I couldn't figure that out for ages. I didn't realise how to get it into mono, and just... anyway, it's a whole thing. But it was absolutely terrible. You can tell I've got no confidence whatsoever in my voice. Absolutely nothing. It got about 15 views in the first week, I reckon. And instead of looking at that as a negative, I went, that's 15 people. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I love that I didn't think about it, but I love that was my thought. Instead of being discouraged by it, I thought, man, you put 15 people in a room. That's a lot of people watching if they were watching it on the telly or whatever. So
interesting. If you had have looked at it as a negative, you probably went, this is not for me.
Well, no one watched for ages. So you think I don't know what it was. Like, I just never had the thought of stopping. I just always thought, well, if I make it a little bit better, maybe 16 people will tune in, and then maybe 18, and then maybe 20, and who knows, maybe 200,000 like it is now. So it's just sort of like, that I don't know where that mentality came from. It's one of the only things I've never given up on in terms of that creative endeavour.
Clearly, that's your passion, though, Corey. So, I mean, when you've got that passion, the drive just comes with it, doesn't it? You're naturally just inclined to go after it. So, from 15 to 200,000, a little bit different.
Yeah.
No sort of overnight immediate success story. It's been a hard slog.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and not hard at all.
Yeah.
Like I've never looked at it and gone, oh, I've got to make a video, or that. Now it's a bit different that it's my job. And that's been an interesting thing we can talk about later or now, or whatever you want. But yeah, now it's a different dynamic, but I still enjoy it, and I try and remember what it was like to do it for fun now that it's actually paying the mortgage and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
mate, let's talk about that evolution from your first FIFA mono upload with 15 viewers to where you are now. Like, talk me through the timeline of, how you did do that first episode, and then what the progressions were up until where we are now with a couple of 100,000 people that subscribe to your channel. So
I had the mic, I had the stuff to record. I just didn't have the it's like a capture card to basically take the game from your TV and pump it into your laptop so you can record it all in sync, and you do it with Elgato, it's called.
Okay, so just one step back. So you're literally you're playing the game.
So I'm playing. I've got the mic set up kind of like this.
So
like
this is gameplay, yes?
Yeah, gameplay. So I'd be playing FIFA.
Sorry for stupid questions.
No, that's fine. I didn't really explain it very well. So I'd be playing FIFA and literally doing the broadcast commentary as I'm playing the game.
Okay.
Because I used to do that sort of mumbling to myself while I was playing anyway, because I've always been a bit of a kid, you know. So I thought, well, why don't I just project a bit and put that into a YouTube video? I'd never seen anyone doing sort of broadcast style stuff ever. So I thought, well, it's a bit different. Maybe that's my in. So start recording that. That probably gets me, I'm doing like episodic stuff of that, so it's episode 1, 2, 3, playing different games and all that sort of thing. It probably yields probably like 2,500 subs, because it starts to get a little bit, because every time the new game comes out, you'd put episode 1 out and they'd do well, and then it'd fall away a little bit, so you're waiting for the new game to come out to give you a little bit of a boost. And I then started getting a little bit tired of just doing FIFA, so again, back to the guy that got me into YouTube, Big Red MY, he did a UFC series with their game. So I was like, let's do UFC, let's do a career mode where I take one guy through a career and kind of tell his story a little bit. That didn't do that well, because what I didn't know at the time is that if you start mixing genres, you start to split your audience. And so it doesn't really vibe, it's too much friction. If I upload a UFC video for a FIFA audience, they're not going to click it. They don't care. But I didn't realise that for months, and kept pumping them out because I just enjoyed doing it. Then I made my first... These videos would do okay, but then I made my first wrestling video, which was a review of the show of Monday Night Raw. And I think it got 100 views in the first hour. And I thought, whoa, okay, this is weird. I don't usually get that. I usually get 100 views in a week or whatever. And then it started getting more comments. So I thought, oh, okay, the wrestling thing might be good, and I love it. I still watch it and that sort of thing. So I made that. I did that for a little bit, and then I started an episodic wrestling show where I did the broadcast style commentary over a wrestling show this time. So I was commentating it as if you were watching a real episode of Monday Night Raw, but it was all my storylines. And
so are you playing the game as you're commentating?
Everything I'll talk about is me playing
live, or
no, I wouldn't do. So the episodic stuff I didn't do live at all.
Okay,
that was all pre-recorded, heavily edited, and then I would do the commentary afterwards, over the top of the whole show. And that series went for years, and it got me to about 30,000 subscribers. And I hit a bit of a ceiling where I couldn't get over more than 8,000 or 10,000 views per video. And I couldn't figure out why. I just sort of thought, I feel like it's good. The audience tells me it's good. The problem was it was the same people coming back every week. It wasn't growing it. It was just...
When you say the same people, same viewers, or same characters?
Same viewers.
Okay.
The character's always changing, storylines changing, everything changes like it does in real life.
Yep.
But the viewers, and I'll get to the call that I had with a guy called Dara Leaves, because I wanted to see if I could make this a thing. The viewers would come back, so I thought, I want to do this at a higher level. I want to be more, and if I'm going to have a crack, I'm probably going to need to either get more eyes on this series somehow or do something completely different, because it doesn't have a high enough ceiling, because I'd spent 2 years at about the same level. So I book a call. It cost me $1,000 for an hour with Dara Leaves. He's worked with guys like Mr. Beast and Ryan Trahan and Eric, whoever, the who's who of YouTube, basically. Book an hour with him, have to wait a month because he's booked out in advance. And I asked him to just shred it. Just shred my channel completely. Tell me what I'm doing wrong, but also can you tell me how to get more eyes on what I'm doing? Because I thought he might have an idea. What he does that is kind of cool is he looks at the back of house stuff. He'll look at the analytics and he will say, here's what's going wrong, here's what I think you can shift, here's how I think you can change it. And he looked at my analytics for 5 minutes and he said, we don't need to look at any analytics. You're not bringing in new people, which I kind of had an idea that was happening. He said, I think you've hit a ceiling and I think you need to blow it up. And you need to make videos that aren't episodic, because if you actually think about it, if a new viewer gets recommended episode 15 of a series, what are they going to think? They're already halfway through. Like they pick it up, they have no idea, they have no context. Yep. And that's when the light bulb kind of went off in my head. I thought, oh, that's true.
So they need to be standalone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Make standalone stuff that has a beginning, middle, end, gives full value to the viewer in one hit.
Yep.
And get out. And I didn't really know how to do that because I'd never done it. I'd always done series. I'd always done this sort of thing. So one piece of advice he said was replace the word algorithm with the word people. So instead of asking what the algorithm wants, ask what people want. So what are their pain points? What do they really want to see? He told me all about it. He's got a book out called The YouTube Formula. And he says in that you need to study your avatar. So you need to study the person that you're trying to make the video for. You go through, you read their comments, you speak their language, you use their tone, you use all that sort of stuff. And that was the most valuable advice I got, because I always thought the algorithm's just not pushing it. The algorithm's not pushing it. And he took me to one of my episode videos and he said, the algorithm's pushing it just fine. It's finding the people who want to see it. There's just not that many of them. And they don't even watch your video all the way through. Because I used to post an hour-long video and it would get 10% of people who watched it would watch the whole thing, which is horrible.
What? Just the bit of nuance there. What is good? What's a good?
Well, now I'm upwards of 45 to 50% on a half an hour video.
Okay.
Which is just so much better.
So that's 50% of people will watch it all the way through.
Watch the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I had 10%, and he said, I recommend you go back through some of your older stuff, and I think you should look at what has retained your audience the best and see why. And then we ended the call or whatever, so I went and did some research, and I found I had 3 videos that had done 60% retention on a 15-minute video. And it was all B-roll with accompanying narration. And so, like, as if I was reading from a book. And I said, oh, that's interesting. That's something. So I thought...
So when you say B-roll...
As in, it was everything I was saying was being shown with the video game, essentially. So people would hear me say, and then he punched him in the face, and you would see the video character would punch him in the face.
Got it.
So everything I'm saying you're seeing on the screen. So I went away and said, like, okay, this has got to be something. And then I had the thought of, well, what if I made one of my storylines that would usually span 5 episodes and put it down into 15 minutes or 20 minutes and did B-roll, and everything I'm saying is happening on the screen within the game, and I just play it all out like I've done for years.
Yep.
So I thought, all right, I'm going to try that. I posted it. It got about 8,000 or 9,000 views. The same as the other stuff. And then, again, fortunately, I said, all right, well, at the very least, I'm going to continue to do this. Even if I maintain the same trajectory, this was more enjoyable to make than an episode of this. But the one thing I didn't think of at the time was to look at the retention. And the retention on that video was 45% over half an hour. So
same people were watching it, but
for longer.
For longer. Okay.
Yeah. So that, I said, well, this is it. I've got to, if YouTube goes and finds the right people, which it's incredibly good at doing, and they watch it for the same amount of time, this could be the ticket right here. And so I ended that episode series, like the series that I'd had running for like 3 or 4 years. It was on my birthday. I lost 500 subscribers when I ended it, and I thought, oh, well, this is done. I'm just going to have to try and get another job or forget about YouTube or whatever. Made the next video, which was about Cody Rhodes. He was just about to come back to WWE. This is like maybe 2.5 years ago, in the same format as I did the previous. And I think in the first 24 hours, it got 15,000 views and like 45% retention across a 15-minute video or a 20-minute video or whatever it is. And I just went, this is it.
Yeah.
This is what I've got to do. I have to focus on paying off a whole storyline within 20 minutes. People will watch the whole thing. And another thing that Daryl said was you've got to understand what the audience wants to watch next. And I didn't understand that until I started making these. What that means is if someone likes Cody Rhodes, they probably like Roman Reigns. If they like Roman Reigns, they probably like Randy Orton, so on and so on. So the next one was about Roman Reigns. I think in the first 24 hours, it got 45,000 views or something like that. And then the next one was about Cody Rhodes again, winning a title. 55,000 views in the first 24 hours, and it was just that's what triggered it.
This tipping point, this sort of hockey stick of viewers and subscribers was how long ago?
Now 2.5 years ago, I think.
Okay, so sort of 2022?
Yep.
Thereabouts, yep. And you started in 2015. You said it took you how long to earn your first dollar?
8-9 months at least,
Okay.
I think, maybe a year.
Without talking dollars, but in terms of the progression, how long after that did it take to earn like $1,000 or?
1,000 for a month? That would have been like 3 years.
Okay.
When I tell you that no one was watching for a long time, no one was watching for a long time. It was, but I just, as I said, I never had a thought of, I think I grew just enough along the journey to keep me interested.
The carrot was always there.
Yeah, it was sort of I gained 50 subscribers this month. That's not nothing.
What was early on, was the financial carrot a real carrot, or was it was purely the creative side of it and the subscribers and
never gave it a
appealing
single
to your
thought.
audience? Yeah,
never gave it a single thought. It was all about fun. It was all about, I just love making content. And then it was when I got to about 30,000, and I actually had a Patreon and things like that, which is like a sign up service where it's like an external website where people can sign up, and I would post the videos there early for Patreon members. It was like $5 a month. I think I got up to 150 Patreons at one point. That was during the episodic stuff. And then when it started popping off, I felt bad about taking money from people because I didn't need to. So I took it away. And my membership service on my YouTube channel now that I have, where you can sign up for a couple of dollars a month, I donate to charity at the end of month, just because I don't need it anymore, and it's just a way to thank people. I don't need to take money from anyone. I had the Patreon so I could do YouTube part time. Then when I could do YouTube full time without anyone paying a cent, that's.
The monetization of it, I know we're probably jumping a little bit into the business side of it, but you said that you weren't really focused on the financial side of it. Did you know at that early stage when you first started you could monetize YouTube, or had no idea?
I had no idea.
Okay.
I knew that it existed, but I didn't know if I had to do anything. I didn't know if I had to sign up for something, which you had to back then. You just had to make a Google AdSense account, and it would. You're a way to go, and there was no threshold. Now there's a threshold. If you don't make over 100 for the month, they don't pay you out. When you say my first dollar had to come, I think because they used to pay you they used to send you 50 cents, or whatever, before the threshold came in. And I think there was too many people who signed up, so they were like, well, let's make a threshold so we don't have to constantly pay out these little microtransactions all the time.
Yeah.
So it was never a carrot until I started getting a few more viewers, and I actually, maybe started making $200-300 a month or something. I thought, oh, that's not nothing. That's a couple of pizzas a month. Yeah. So that's all right.
Corey, tell us about what was the ultimate trigger that you went, right, this is it, I can give up my work in hospo, and this can be, my career? What was the moment?
I had a goal of, if I made over what I was making in hospitality, that I would give it up.
Yep.
And that was what it was. I got to a certain point, and it happened to be the same day as Laura, which I didn't tell her about, which I regret not telling her about. She called me to say, I just quit vet nursing. And I was like, I just quit hospitality. This is the best day ever. She's like, what? We've got nothing now. I was like, we've got it. All right. And then she made me sit down. She made me do a budget, and we had X amount of disposable income. And she said, okay, that's pretty good. I was like, yeah, it's better than what I was doing. So that's why I quit, but I probably should have run it by her at least. But yeah, that was what it was. It was just the earning over what we had to pay.
Yep.
And I knew that if I gave it 100% of my time, that I could 3x. I was that confident, and still confident that I can keep growing it, because you just, with knowledge, you can start to make moves in different directions. And which
has happened over the course of the last couple of years now, that I think it is we've been working together. Every time we chat, things have progressed for you. So
YouTube's a real snowball. It's a real snowball. Once you get rolling, I think it took me nearly 8 years, I want to say, to get 100,000 subscribers, and I'm nearly at 200,000 after 9. So once you get rolling and YouTube knows what your audience is and knows who to go and find, then it's game over if you just keep providing value at the end of the day.
Can you talk a little bit to on the monetization thing? And I know I've picked your brain a little bit about my son's YouTube channel and his inability to monetize because he poaches too much of other people's material. But for someone out there that's maybe a content creator, or they're thinking about monetizing YouTube, you mentioned the sort of Google AdSense. What is the process? What's the potential? How do you get paid? Like, for the novice out there, how do you actually get paid by putting your content on YouTube? Yeah,
so I got grandfathered into the new system because I signed up in 2015. But now you need 4,000 hours of watch time, and you need 1,000 subscribers to apply for the YouTube partner program. Or, now that shorts are such a big thing, if you can get 10 million shorts views, and I think it might be 1,000 subscribers as well, I could be wrong. But yeah, you have to hit those thresholds to even be able to apply for the YouTube partner program. And that's when you'll sign up for AdSense to get paid by Google, and you get paid per 1,000 monetized views. What is a monetized view is, I don't even really know, because it's kind of in-house, because they don't want people to game the system or to be weird with it. So monetized view is when someone sees an ad on a YouTube video, whether it's like one of those lower third bumper ads, or whether it's a pre-roll before the video starts, unskippable ad or a skippable ad. They have different rates.
So you have a choice as a creator of where you have the ad. So
yes,
you can say, I want it before, I want it during, and then obviously they then will pay
we can put them where we want them in the video. So if I have a real big cliffhanger in a video, you can drop an ad in there, and someone's going to be less likely to skip.
Can you avoid them putting ads in places you don't want, or not?
I choose. I can put them wherever I want.
Okay.
You can literally go in back of house and do timestamps. But now YouTube's so good at not showing people too many ads, because all YouTube cares about is the user experience. And when you know that as well, you can tailor your content to just give them the easiest non-friction experience possible. So if they stay on the platform longer, YouTube's going to say... All YouTube does is track the viewer's viewing behavior. So that's all the algorithm is just watching people. So if you have a cluster of 10,000 people who really love what you do, YouTube will go and find another 20,000 people with similar watch history to them and try your stuff on them. That's why it snowballs. So that's why you need the least amount of friction, no episodic stuff, give full value in the single video, because that's what people want. And that's what people like YouTube will go and find them to do it.
What are some of the other what else provides the least friction? So ads in the right spot, non-episodic. What have you found provides the least friction for a viewer of, I suppose, your channel or any channel?
So making sure you're paying off what you say you're going to do. So if I say, here's how Stone Cold should come back to the WWE, make sure your first 30 seconds is to do with that, so the viewer doesn't feel like they've clicked on the wrong thing or they've been clickbaited. Or so make sure you maybe show Stone Cold within the first 30 seconds to say, this is definitely the right place. You are absolutely in the right place.
Yep.
So delivered on your promise.
Deliver on your promise.
Yeah.
Over deliver at the end. So quite often I'll do little two-parters, but it's not listed as a two-parter. It's just two separate videos. So if you were to only watch one, it would be fine. But I'll have a cliffhanger at the end of one that makes you click on the end screen to go to watch the next one.
Yep. So where's the hook in terms of that promise? Where does that promise start? Is it in the thumbnail? Is it in the show note? Your description of the podcast. And then maybe just a little bit of a deep dive into like that process, that creative process of getting the hook, getting the promise, so that people will hang in there. What is your process? It's always thumbnail and title first. It's always idea first before I make the video. Thumbnail and title first.
Absolutely, every time, because then you can tailor the video around that. So if you've got a betrayal, I can only speak from my example, but if you look at Mr. Beast, he'll have something like, I flew the world's largest helicopter or whatever, and it's him sitting in the helicopter, and I guarantee you every single time you click on that one of his videos, it'll be him in the helicopter in the first 5 seconds, just paying it off. So it starts, your intro is almost your thumbnail and your title. You can just cut all the bullshit and go straight into the video because people see it and click it. So if I say, for example, the video I've got coming out soon is, what if Kevin Owens turned into a bad guy, right? The first frame is Kevin Owens in the video of him doing something a little bit shady, because people are like, oh yeah, he's going to do it. Yeah. Like he said he was going to do it and he did it. So I think that's one of the biggest things, is to just deliver it as soon as you can on the title and thumbnail, and then over deliver in the video itself.
Just in terms of that creative process of thinking, you had a good idea that that was a Kevin Owens being a bad guy.
Yep.
What's your creative process to think that'd be actually that'd be good content? How early do you start the process of planning what your future episodes are going to look like?
So I usually plan it out a month in advance, and that most of them have a through line, because I'm always thinking about what the viewer would want to watch next. So yeah, I had that Kevin Owens idea actually not that long ago, because I'm kind of at the mercy of what WWE do in real life, because I'll take WWE from now, current day, and I will make my storylines in 6 months into the future. So I'm almost predicting what I think would happen or how I would do it.
Yeah.
So they have a bit more shelf life that way, and the more evergreen videos that I make are about past things, or a group that could come back or whatever. So I'll have that idea. I'll write down a content plan. I've just got it in notes in my phone, and I've got the date that it'll go out. I've got if it's sponsored or whatever, so I know that if I've got a sponsored video, it'll be about as big a subject as I possibly can think of, the most popular thing, so the sponsor gets however many views and gets their value, so they potentially come back. But it starts, I'll sit down and brainstorm 50 ideas, and then I'll have that list, and I'll just sort of cherry pick them, and I generally make 3 or 4 videos a month, and yeah, I'll know that far in advance. And then in terms of how it starts, Monday, Tuesday is script writing, Wednesday, Thursday I'll record all the B-roll, and then Friday I'll edit, unless I'm ahead like this week.
Yeah. So for a 15-minute episode, what does script writing look like for that? Like how much text is there? How much monologue or?
Well, I'll write I don't know how many words it is, but I'll write a skeleton. So I'll have a timeline, and I'll have this is going to happen here, this will happen here, this will happen here, major moments in the video, and then I go through and I'll just flesh out all those ideas and incorporate them using like all the classic bridging sentences and all that sort of thing that I've learned along the way to seamlessly go from one scene to the next. And music's a big part of that as well in the editing process, which is usually what I do on Fridays. I have a associate editor that lives in the States, and I send him like 4 hours of raw footage that I've recorded on a Wednesday and a Thursday. Thursday night I'll send that to him, and then by Friday morning he has it back where he's cut all that down into like the 20-minute base video, and then I compose the music and all that sort of thing all throughout it, and I might re-record some lines or whatever if I don't like how I delivered a line, or I might cut 3 minutes out of it if I think it's dragging, and so I have the final cut on it, which I don't think I could ever not do.
Yeah, director's cut. And I'm just thinking about people that are thinking, this might be... There's a lot of people that we probably speak to now that have sort of side hustles, and some of them might be content creation. But hearing you talk and obviously working with you, like there's a lot of discipline involved in what you do, isn't there? Like you talk about, wanting to be your own boss, but you work Monday to Friday. Like it's fair to say you put in a lot of effort.
Yep.
And it's just that you've been able to grow it to a point where the reward is there now, isn't it? Yeah. Jay sort of asked this question earlier, but what other tips would you have for people maybe that are like you were a few years ago, where you're working and this is a side hustle? What else can people be doing to develop their own careers?
I think all you can do is keep getting better, because your first videos are going to be horrendous. Mine are all still up there. If you want to go back and look at them, they're absolutely terrible. You can barely even hear me. But just focus on... because nobody's going to watch for the start. Everyone starts at zero. There's outliers who blow up out of nowhere, and you can't give up on it. If it's something you really, really want to do, forget about the money. That's not going to come until way later, unless you get, unless you're really good. I'm sure there's people who are really good out of the gate, but for the most part, everyone's horrendous at whatever they start doing when they first start doing it. Like this podcast, Jay won't even post the first episodes of it. It just, that would be my main thing, would be do something you actually that's sustainable for you to do. Yep. Don't make videos about a subject just because you think it's going to perform well. Because if I was making videos about something I wasn't passionate about, I would have given up years ago. Yeah, I would have given up years ago. So do something. It's tough because some things that you might love doing don't have the ceiling of, like, WWE is one of the most subscribed YouTube channels in the world. It's got 100 million subscribers on YouTube. The ceiling for WWE content is massive. Yeah. So if you are thinking about it a little bit more methodically and you're just getting started, try and pick something with a big ceiling that you're not just going to be treading water doing for no reason.
Like growth is not limited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's something, but if you just want to make, random videos with your mates or whatever, just do it. There's no harm in it.
I think something else we've discussed, Corey, is around your deliberate decision making with people that you'll sort of partner with from a sponsorship perspective. So do you want to talk a little bit about the process there? Yeah,
so I'm with a company called Long Haul Management, and they basically go and get me deals, and they take 15% of whatever that deal is. But I'm very specific about what I will and won't do in terms of taking sponsorships. I've done a couple of gambling ones, but a lot of them were DraftKings, so they were free to play events where you could sign up, and it was a wrestling based event. So things like that I'm okay with. I've done Manscaped and that because I use razors and all that sort of thing. So I try not to sell people on things that I wouldn't use myself, basically, because I've watched creators for years who I've loved, and then all of a sudden they're trying to sell you something, and you're like, oh, it's a bit. Would you really do you really believe what you're
Feel like
saying?
we've sold out a little.
Yeah. But I totally get it, because it's tough when ad revenue goes up and down a lot for a lot of people. Sometimes you just got to pay the bills, and sometimes you'll do I did Raid Shadow Legends. That's like a mobile game. It's a bit of a meme. Oh, you got the Raid deal sort of thing. So, but I sort of said that in the ad, so kind of played off that. But yeah, I just wouldn't do anything that is too on the nose.
Yeah, it doesn't align with your brand.
Talking about revenue from a business point of view, what other avenues of revenue are there for a YouTuber? So the monetization through YouTube, sponsorships. What is there any other avenue to actually direct income through to a YouTube channel as a creator?
Yeah, people have their own products, so they'll bring out, like Mr. Beast again brought out his own chocolate.
Yep.
Ryan Trahan brought out his own sour strip lollies. I think Eric brought out pizza sauce because it was in line, because he always talks about pizza in his videos and that sort of thing. People do clothing brands. So that's really it, I think, like sponsorships, AdSense.
Are you YouTube exclusive, or is your content on other streaming platforms as well?
I do my shorts. So I do, I think I've got about 35 million views in shorts as well. So I do short form content, which is basically my stories, but I'll make it, they're all different. None of them are to do with the long videos at all. I'll do 35 second beginning, middle, end stories for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram.
Are they monetized as well?
Yeah. Well, TikTok, no, because TikTok doesn't have a partner program in Australia for some reason, which I don't really understand. And Instagram, I think if I paid for the verified tick, I think you can earn some money there.
Yeah.
I haven't really looked into that, but I'm not monetized anywhere else but YouTube.
Yeah.
But I'm not exclusive.
Okay. I noticed I've some child locks on the kids' smart TVs with YouTube, because the kids will just be on it flat stick. But there's not one on Spotify. I've noticed that Spotify essentially has become YouTube. Just about everything that is on YouTube, content-wise, the kids will find on Spotify. So they watch Mr. Beast.
Do they really? Yes. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. So all the video content, which surprised me, they find even on what other apps do we have that were unlocked on the TVs? There might have been Amazon. So Amazon, again, most of Mr. Beast stuff, the kids will find a way to find it on something else if they can't watch it on YouTube. And so, yeah, I was as a sort of thinking about it from a business point of view, I'm thinking about the sort of the revenue streams that potentially as a content creator you have, and whether it is limited to, like, if you're heavy on YouTube, whether it's just a waste of time to go anywhere else, or whether that's just commonplace that if you're on one place. Because I know with this podcast, not that it's monetized, but it goes out on all of the podcast streaming services through Libsyn, which is the hosting site for the podcast.
Do you guys have a YouTube channel?
We do, yeah. It hasn't got 200,000 subscribers.
It's not making any money yet either, is it, Jay?
No, it's not. And we definitely don't have enough... what's view through? What do you call that? What's the retention? So, yeah, our retention on our YouTube channels is pretty low. And again, I suppose it's quite niche. Like some of the topics that we're talking about, I listen to it myself. I think that's pretty boring. But the person who wants to actually know about self-managed super funds because they're buying a commercial property and they want to know that we're experts in it will watch the whole thing, that episode that we did with David Basoli. So I think what interests me is just trying to find out like what for us actually hits the mark. And we've had a bit of a scattergun approach with how we've gone from doing absolutely nothing. I've been very fortunate as a business to not have to do any sort of marketing, advertising, promotion. I got excited on a personal note about doing a podcast with my late brother. We did a couple of episodes. Unfortunately, he passed away. And I thought, time is just going away. I've got to do this. And I'm not sure, someone in here said, why don't you just do the podcast for work? I went, okay. So I had all the equipment and we started recording episodes, and like you said at the beginning, it is just a constant learning process. We're working out what we do well.
Yeah.
What audio tech, being an audio technician is like, how to marry up audio and visual, and then, making sure that people actually listen, or that you're giving people content that they actually want to listen to. Do they want it in short form? Do they want it in long form? Yeah. And not being too biased by what maybe I like to do, but being aware of what the viewers actually will listen to and be attracted to.
There is times where I'll make a video that I'm not terribly keen on making, but it's just undeniable how popular the subject is.
Yeah.
And so there are weeks where it is genuinely work, and I feel like I've written this story 100 times. It's usually about the bloodline and Roman Reigns and The Rock and all this stuff, and I have a Google form where people submit their own ideas, and it's kind of give me 5 dot points of what the storylines would be and all this sort of thing. I think I've had like 4,000 responses or something like in there, so I'll go through that and I'll pick ideas out of there, which are the viewers and all that sort of thing. And that's what I was thinking in the car on the way here about you guys with your stuff. Like, have you tried doing shorts and here's how you solve this financial problem in 30 seconds and that? I'm guessing you probably...
Well, what we've done, we haven't, but we have cut... We've taken extracts out of the podcast. So the podcast will go anywhere between 15 minutes and an hour worth of audio.
Yeah.
We're then, like the one we did with Adam Dawes, a shout out to Adam from Shaw and Partners. I think we extracted 5 shorts out of that where we're talking about investing in the share market and particular stocks to invest in. But not... Other than taking content from the podcast, no, we haven't been focused on doing shorts. But I think I see a number of financial advisors, because I'm sort of constantly looking what others are doing, and many of them are doing TikTok and YouTube shorts. And you'd think, well, is that really our target market? Well, yeah, that you look at one of the financial planners that we follow, he's part of a similar network to us, is getting sort of pre-retiree and retiree clients from TikTok, and that makes sense to me because my mum's on TikTok flat stick, and she's nearly 70. So, just you've got to be open-minded to where the people are that you want to see your content actually exist. And
well, you guys see your avatar every day. You talk to your avatar every day. So you know everybody's pain points. You know what a schlup like me who has no idea, I'm like financially illiterate. And Delta explains everything so amazingly for us that we understand. I think if you guys doing that for the common person like me who doesn't have any idea about this stuff, that could, like, if you just focus on the pain points, write down like 50 things that you get asked every day and make 50 videos on that. That's the sort of stuff.
It's the one-to-many content, isn't it, where we, like you've said, Corey, in every appointment each day we might go through the same, explanation of a superannuation rule, for example, but having that easily accessible to an audience that's interested.
Yeah, and even the thing that we've done badly, and again it's probably a product of the industry that we're in, is that we're very strategy minded. We're thinking about solutions, but what we're not very good at doing is telling people the problems that we solve. Like actually saying, here's the simple problem that we solve for. So don't worry about the detailed solution, the complexity in an hour's worth of detail on self-managed super funds. I want to buy a commercial property. Can I do it in my super? Like something like that. That's the problem to solve for. That's the bit that we need you as our creative director at Burke Britton to solve for.
I think in YouTube titles, and I think like can I buy a house with my super is an amazing YouTube title.
So what's the title for this episode, mate?
The title for this episode? Oh,
you've put him on the spot now.
Yeah. From 0 to 200,000.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. And again, I think about that too, because our thumbnails, you look at our thumbnails, are just our heads. Like it's not actually episode related. I'm thinking there's no hook in our thumbnail at all. Like it's just Delta in my head and the guest's head, and the episode number. There's no hook. There's no promise of what we're actually going to deliver, which is...
I've already got you thinking. I like it.
Mate, I'm a sucker for... I've had I'm a curious mind, and I love picking people's brains. It's great. I love it. Where to next? Maybe let's talk about what, other than the enjoyment you get and obviously the financial reward that has come subsequent to that, what continues to be sort of the most rewarding thing, and what keeps you motivated to continue to do what you've been doing?
Well, the creative freedom is what it is. It's the ability to do whatever I want, sort of whenever I want. And I'm now structuring in to my content plan. I'm structuring in breaks. So I'm structuring in a week off, and the privilege of doing that. But the thing that's really driven me is being able to give my partner the freedom to do whatever she wants, because I get to do what I want to do, and the fact that she can do anything that she wants to do now, with the freedom of knowing that money is okay and we don't need her to work full time. She was in a full-on job, vet nursing, for a long time. She got completely burned out by it, and the fact that I am able to now help her break out of that and actually do something she really wants to do, and give her, she's had a good few years to just pull back and say, I'm going to try and focus on something I really want to do. That, above everything else, is the most rewarding part about all of it.
It's so powerful.
Yeah. How has, this is a shameless plug for ourselves, but how has, hopefully it's a shameless plug, how has financial advice supported you achieve some of those personal and lifestyle goals that you're talking about now, the ability to give your partner the time and space to do what she wants to do? Yeah,
it's given us so much peace of mind with Delta being able to say, you guys are fine, because we've got like X amount in the bank and we never think it's enough, but to hear Delta say, like, you guys are doing great, you just need to like maybe take a little bit of risk here and then do this and that, and everything is going in the right direction. We always say to Delta, like, we don't want to blow it. We don't want to blow this chance at having financial freedom, not just now, but in the future, so that when we are 60, maybe I can just delete everything and walk away and do something completely. Maybe I've always wanted to commentate the footy. So maybe I'm commentating the footy when I'm 60 at the MCG watching the Pies win another flag.
So that's definitely still an ambition for you to be
I think
a commentator.
So, yeah. Yep. I would like to get into mainstream. I think I've got a head for radio more than I would be on TV. But, yeah, that is an absolute dream of mine to do that. But, yeah, what you guys have provided us is just peace of mind, I think. Saying you're on the right track, you've got X going to Y, all this, and we know that all we have to do is just keep doing what we're doing, and everything's getting channeled in the right direction. That's been the best part. Yeah,
it's great. It's nice to hear that what we think we're doing for clients in terms of sort of helping them project manage their life and taking away some of that burden is actually happening in reality. And you mentioned something there about the choice or the option to do whatever you want in the future. And I've said it probably, I reckon, 100 times, nearly every episode that we've had where we've talked about financial planning in some way, shape or form, and that most people, they want to get to the place sooner rather than later where if they're working, it's because they choose to, not because they have to. And that's kind of the holy grail. Like when you realise that you're financially sound enough that you're working literally because you choose to, that for a lot of people is retirement. That can come at 25, that could come at 30, that could come at 60. Yep. But it's just such a wonderful thing to see clients have that realisation and be supported to that point. It's extremely rewarding for us, and it's why we love what we do.
Yeah, and in working with you and Laura, we're just enhancing what you're creating and what you're building. We get a lot from that relationship and going, yep, you're on the right track. We're investing, we're saving for the future, we're making the best use of this opportunity now. So, it's great.
That's all we want. We just want to know we're not blowing the chance. That's it.
All right, mate. Last couple of questions before we wrap this one up. But I was just thinking, and this is probably more directed to my son Alfie. But what advice? What advice would you give to someone who's? And you might have already touched on most of them. But any other unique pearls of wisdom to someone who's wanting to set up their own YouTube channel or be a content creator and get to the point where they're actually making it a full-time gig.
A lot of people try and make excuses of why they want to start, why they won't start. Just start, just post. Just post it. It's probably bad. No one's going to watch it, but just post it. And think about your title and thumbnail before you even upload. I think it's a really underrated thing. Just think about the visual of what, because that's the first thing someone sees on their homepage. Otherwise they're not going to click it. If you've got a bad title and thumbnail, why would anyone care what's behind the door? That would be the number one advice, I think, across the board. Think about your thumbnail and title and your YouTube title, and make sure that don't put your thumbnail title. Don't put your title in the thumbnail as well, and keep your thumbnail as simple as possible. My thumbnails are just the head of the bloke it's about, and maybe a little bit of context, but it's all in the title of what the actual video is about.
Yeah, and I was just going to think. I was thinking then about the difference between that and the audio or a podcast, but it's kind of the same, because again, what presents to someone on their app is a thumbnail and a description.
Yep.
Like before they've even clicked for the audio or the video, you've got to have that promise. You've got to have, this is what I'm going to deliver for you. Maybe last question. What's the single best bit of advice you've received, financial or otherwise, in your time? It can be about YouTube, it can be about finance, it could be about anything. And what was it, and did you take that advice on?
Yeah, so it's from my dad. He said, do what you love and the money will take care of itself, provided it's not something that doesn't pay. Yeah. But it's always stuck with me, and Dad told me that when I was super young. Do what you love.
I love that qualifier, as long as it pays.
Well, yeah, if you love throwing rocks against the wall, it's probably not a great idea.
Was there ever any incentive or desire from your dad to say take on the family farm, for example?
No, he was always great about that, and he always had my brother who was super keen on doing it. So they're still out there doing that, and I think Dad's pretty keen on retiring soon. But no, I loved working on the farm, and I always said when I worked in hospitality that if the farm was closer to Melbourne where I was living, because it's about 4.5 hours away from Melbourne, I would have done that while I was waiting for the thing that I wanted to do.
Yeah, okay.
So I would have given hospitality the arse and gone and sat on the air seater or whatever during sewing and that, because I loved it. You put music on, listen to a podcast, it steers itself, and you just turn it at the end. That's all.
Happy days. Well, Corey, mate, it's been fun. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I could probably keep going and pick your brain for many more hours. We'd love to have you back on for an episode 2 or 3 in the future, mate. You're more than welcome to come back on. I'm sure there's things that we can deep dive in. Oh, I thought of one other question, more on the era of wrestling. Have you done any throwbacks to my era of Hulkamania, King Kong Bundy, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat?
Ric Flair and that.
Yeah.
No, I haven't done any retro ones, but there's a lot. I'm seeing them creep into the submission form on my where people want to see, maybe not that far back, because I don't know whether the audience stretches that far back, but they're looking at Stone Cold sort of era stuff. Yeah. So that could be a possibility.
Yeah,
Might have a new audience there, Corey.
I might be the only viewer, but I tell you what, I'd friggin' love it, because growing up as a kid, that's all we did. That's all we watched, mate. It was
the best.
Yeah, it was just absolutely the best. And doing pole drivers on your brothers, it was so much fun.
My brother put me through the fly screen door out on the farm one day during a match. He speared me through the door.
Yeah. So much fun. So many childhoods. And again, I know it's the US is the place that dominates wrestling, but there's a culture here in Australia of kids that have grown up with wrestling.
For sure.
It's a beautiful thing. Continues to be. Mate, where can people find you on YouTube or anywhere else?
It's just at MurphsYT13 everywhere. Nobody's taken that name. So it's pretty easy to find.
Well, it'll be in the show notes for the thousands of people that listen to this episode and want to click on and have a look. Again, thank you very much. Look forward to round 2. Thanks, Delta, for jumping on as well. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Corey.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're keen to understand more about how financial advice could benefit you, Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Burke Britton FP, or Google Burke Britton Financial Partners. Check out our client reviews, testimonials, and make a time to meet one of our certified financial planners by clicking Book Now on our website. Thanks for listening.
Any information contained in this podcast is of a general nature only. No account was taken as to the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. Therefore, before making any decision, listeners should consider the appropriateness of any information with regard to their particular objective, financial situation, needs, and seek independent advice from a licensed professional specific to their circumstances.
All right, hit it.
That translates to, don't be a moron and act on what some random person says on a podcast. Take personal responsibility, do your homework, ask questions, and speak to an actual human that knows what they're talking about before you do anything. PP Financial Solutions Proprietary Limited, trading as Burke Britton Financial Partners, are authorised representatives of AMP Financial Planning Limited, AFS, licence number 232706.